Hi, I'm Katie Loic with the social media team at Chevron, and we're here today to do a live tour of the Chevron archive. If you haven't had a chance to see some of our other live tours, check them out on our Facebook page. Today we're going to be talking about some of Chevron's early history, the first decades that we were a company. And included in that history is a story you may not have heard, which is how we played a role in making the Golden Gate Bridge the icon we know it as today. Here to tell that story and more is our Chevron historian, John Harper. Hi, John.
Hi, Katie. It's a pleasure to have you again in the archive.
Thank you.
Yes, we're going to talk about some of those early formative decades in the company's history. And just as a reminder, Chevron didn't start out as an international company in over 100 countries. We started out in California. Our roots are here, specifically in Pico Canyon, just north of Los Angeles, about 35 miles. From there, we branched out.
Great. And so where did we go from there?
Well, we focused on the western United States, 5 states particularly, Washington, Oregon, Nevada, and Arizona, and of course California. And we were very interested in establishing our presence there, particularly our marketing presence in the early teens and 20s.
Great.
We have a lot of assets in the archive that really convey that history, and I'd like to share with you a few of them today.
Sure, let's check them out.
Sure.
Thanks.
Well, welcome back to the archive again.
Thanks. So we've got a lot here. I think we were talking a little bit about expanding into the western United States.
Right. The company was keenly interested in the 1920s, 30s, even before, in strengthening the pulling power of the western states, tourism, even the development, because tourists, automobiles were going to be using gasoline and other products. The commercial development of the state, whether highways, bridges, the infrastructure, would also use Chevron or Standard Oil Company of California products.
So how did we do that? How did we develop these communities in the western United States?
Well, the company got involved early on, in the 1920s actually, in organizations such as Californians Incorporated and the Redwood Empire Association. These were organizations that were really targeting, again, that upbuilding of the state, not just California, but the West. But one other instrument the company used was its own publication to promote tourism, what was once called, by the 1940s, the wholesome tonic of recreational travel. The company would develop these wonderfully illustrated covers and then highlight national parks, scenic drives, whether it's the Apache Trail in Arizona, Rainier National Park, Crater Lake in Lake Tahoe.
And beautiful.
They are. They're really wonderful works of art.
And I see we have, some peaches. Is that what these are as well?
Right. So you see some of the California industry, and the West industry, whether it's agriculture in the interior, the fishing industry, tourism. These were the markets for the company early on. These agricultural markets were the primary Chevron markets. Not so much tourism. So that's why they were interested more in creating this flow of people to the West.
Sure. And how did they get all this beautiful artwork that's on these Standard Oil bulletins?
That's a wonderful question. They commissioned California artists to do each cover. And as I said, each cover ties to a series of articles inside that somehow relates to the company's involvement in the West, whether it's product or just, again, promotional.
That's great that there's this local aspect, be it the content itself, to the artist who's making these beautiful covers.
Right. I wish we had all of the covers. These publications ran from 1913 to the 1940s with these wonderful illustrated art on the cover, but we do have a few, and Maura Wernicke, one of our archivists here, is going to show us one of my favorite covers, actually.
Oh, great. Hi, Maura.
Hi.
For those of you who are just joining us, we're at the Chevron archive doing a live tour, and Maura, one of the archivists here, is about to show us some really interesting artwork that helped show Chevron's western expansion in the United States.
Yeah, so like John said, before last year, we only had one of the original covers here on file. And we were visiting one of our refineries last year and came across 5 more of the covers.
Oh my gosh.
And being stored in less than ideal conditions in a warehouse. And we were thrilled when we opened the box and saw that these were in such great condition.
I was going to say, they still look amazing.
Yeah, so this is one of our employees and John's favorites. It is California Route 10, or Highway 1, down the coast of Big Sur in California.
I've definitely seen copies of that hanging in people's offices.
Yeah, these brochure covers are one of our most requested things by employees.
Yeah,
here
they're
at the company.
iconic in themselves.
Yeah. Another one is this nice firefighting image, which is still very prevalent today in the West.
Sure.
So this is the 1934 Feliway fire in Idaho,
Wow.
where the company partnered with the Forest Service to help combat the fire.
Wow.
So,
Wonderful treasures.
Yes,
Yeah.
those are
These really are.
amazing.
so we brought them back here, and now they're being stored in all acid-free boxes and tissues.
Okay,
so-
and is that how you preserve them so they still look so nice today?
Exactly.
Great.
Thank you, Maura.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, Maura.
We mentioned bridges and highways and the interest in developing those in the western states. And here we have one bridge, two different colors actually.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what this is?
I'm guessing this one's the Golden Gate.
Yes, and this is the Golden Gate Bridge too in 1933 before the paint was
Oh,
put on
wow.
it. We have a wonderful story here.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the publications being an instrument of conveying to the public tourism,
Mm-hmm.
the wonderful qualities of the West. But one other person in the company was a driving force in promoting Western travel and industry, and that is Amos Theodore Huggins, or better known as Ted Huggins.
Mm-hmm.
He's a consummate PR employee from 1931 to 1957 in the company, but he was absolutely charismatic and enthusiastic about promoting different aspects of the West, whether it's Yosemite, some of the national parks we talk about, bridges, highways, but this is probably his crowning achievement. And these are photographs taken by Ted Huggins of the Golden Gate Bridge construction.
They're beautiful.
Yeah. We also have Ted Huggins' diaries, and this one, January 6, 1934, says, "Because of the warm, clear weather, I decided to photograph the world's two largest bridges today, the Bay Bridge and the Golden Gate Bridge, which were concurrently being constructed."
And they were the two largest at the time.
Yes.
Wow.
He focused a lot on the Golden Gate Bridge, and then he had this idea that these are wonderful photographs, maybe we should get them out into the public's eyes. So what the company did was it started to freely disseminate these photographs to newspaper outlets, media.
And John, one of the reasons that Ted Huggins was taking these pictures and distributing them was also to highlight Standard Oil's involvement, correct? In
Correct.
the building of this incredible bridge.
Standard Oil Company California products, greases, oils, fuels were being used to develop the bridge. So we have that wonderful connection with the actual building, but also this wonderful photographic record of the construction too.
That's great.
Now, here's one of his later photographs actually, at a night scene, some of the workers on the suspender cables here, and so the construction workers close up here. It's a photographic record of the bridge, but also of the builders. Really the resilience and the strength of the workers in one of the worst times in American history, the
Sure.
Great Depression.
Sure.
And he captured that,
And this is a story you don't see very often, is the people who made this bridge.
correct? Over 400 photographs
Wow.
were made by Ted Huggins, and some of them reside here, and some of them reside at the California Historical Society, which these journals will be transferred to.
Oh, really?
Yes, we've imaged all these diaries, these journals, and now we're going to give them to the California Historical Society.
That's great. And would you say one of his photos was most iconic?
Probably, in the eyes of the world, it's the May 1937 cover of Life magazine.
Okay.
You'll see the
so-
Golden Gate Bridge. That's Ted Huggins'
That's
image.
his photo.
That's the opening
Wow.
of the bridge there.
That's great. So, John, you mentioned people, and I'd love to hear more about how Ted Huggins' work and other employees showed this people story.
The people, the partnering with the communities was a very integral part of the company's past. And it wasn't new by the 1930s. It's the company's philosophy about how it treats its workers, how it conducts its business in the community, goes back farther. And it's embodied in what we call today the Chevron way, but it goes back to the early turn of the 20th century. By 1915, at the Panama Pacific Expo, World's Fair, we have the company winning an award, the Medal of Honor for its work and its policies. It was very important to the company, how it conducts its business, how it treats its employees.
And is that what all of these are as well, or other awards that the company
In addition to
received?
this prize medal given by an independent panel of judges, the company also received numerous awards for the quality of its products. We mentioned in an early episode that trust and reliability of the product. It was, I guess, it was made legitimate in the eyes of the public again
Sure,
by
by
the judges
receiving
here.
these awards.
Now this Medal of Honor, this is for its work and policies. This is something that evolved, this idea of how the company is going to conduct itself. Ultimately, we said in the Chevron way, but first it became the Standard Oil Spirit in 1923. And this individual, our CEO at the time, Kenneth Kingsbury, developed this document here. And as we can see, it's a discussion of the relation between the personnel and the management of our company. And this is where you start to see a further articulation of some of the company's values. Something novel, the 8-hour day, 6-day work week,
Wow.
vacations, pensions, salaries instead of daily wages.
It's hard to believe that all of these policies were, I guess, somewhat revolutionary
Right,
at the time.
very enlightened. Abolishing the daily wage right there. Now from here, we evolved down the road into something called What We Believe, very straightforward.
And what year was this created?
This was in place by the early 1960s. And
Okay.
here you see other beliefs of the company: safe practices in health, labor relations, employment, corporate citizenship.
Oh, wow. That's, today corporate responsibility is a big part of what we talk about as a company, and it's pretty cool to see that it was part of our vision even in the 1960s.
Right. So we have this progression here from the Standard Oil Spirit written by Kenneth Kingsbury, probably at this desk. This was Kingsbury's desk and
Wow.
the CEO's desk from really 1919 to the last decade.
It's an impressive desk.
Yeah, a series of them. Now we don't use this type of desk anymore. We use sit stands, ergonomic sort of
Sure.
workstations, which are again
Better
healthier
promote
for us.
safety.
But we're proud to have this desk in here. So from the 1960s, what we believe, this philosophy for the company becomes vision and values, becomes policy number one, something
Okay.
very important to the company.
Sure.
It's the primary policy. To our latest iteration of it, which is the Chevron way, which originally debuted in 1995, but the last iteration, the last version just came out this year in 2017 in February.
Yeah, I obviously remember because it just came out recently, and it's pretty incredible that we came from, this Standard Oil book really about our policies all the way to this document now, and we even have a mobile app because we want everyone to explore this vision and the values that we have as a company. So that's pretty awesome to see that history.
And integral to that is the corporate citizenship part, the partner of choice. And a great example of partnering actually occurred back in the 1930s, where Chevron started to explore for oil in Saudi Arabia.
Wow, these are
Partnership
amazing
with
photos.
the king of Saudi Arabia. And here we have one of the early geologist photographs album. Great shots of geologists, company employees working with the local populations.
I love these photos. They're
With the kingdom.
so interesting. Look at him taking a picture there.
Right, these are some of our geologists in traditional garb. Again, a photograph record.
The Sphinx.
The Sphinx, because it was a journey, obviously, just to get to the place where you're
Sure.
going to explore for oil.
Wow.
Just fantastic
They're
photographs.
Beautiful and really tell a story all on their own.
And they really capture the culture, too, of Saudi Arabia. One of the earliest photographic records of Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
Another example of partnering, which is a wonderful story in our own backyard, is the Mount Diablo beacon.
Oh, sure. I know it well. But John, we have a global audience listening today. So for those who maybe aren't familiar with the Mount Diablo beacon, what is it?
Mount Diablo beacon is a beacon on Mount Diablo right here in San Ramon Valley in California. And it was built in 1928 through a partnership, again, of Standard Oil Company of California and the Department of Commerce. And this was to aid aerial navigation, particularly at night.
Okay.
So they erected this 10 million candle power beacon
Wow.
up on the top there. You can see it in the Standard Oil bulletin cover.
I bet you could see it from pretty far away.
You could see that beacon from about 190 miles away on a
Oh
clear
my
night.
gosh.
So
Wow.
it was very important, not only just for recreational aviation, but this was instrumental in the airmail service. So a series of these beacons were built up and down the West Coast, and then from the East Coast, east-west.
And is that what these documents are here on the table?
Yes, these documents were some of the construction documents that went into the development of the beacon and the building down below. which was turned into a museum. Again, not many people
sure.
know that Chevron funded that.
I didn't know that. I've been to that museum on top of Mount Diablo many times.
A great story here is Charles Lindbergh in 1928 remotely turned on the beacon from Denver, Colorado,
Really?
there in a ceremony with much fanfare.
Mm-hmm.
And
Wow. So all of this really shows an interesting story of how we were involved. Obviously, aviation was something that was important to us, but also in giving something back to the community.
right. The company was very much promoting science early on,
Sure.
even in the 1920s, getting people interested in, well, maybe entering the oil business. Engineers we employ a vast array of technicians and scientists and engineers. But we were also very much interested in products for aviation.
Okay.
Aviation was starting to really mature at this time. Commercial aviation, as I said, amateur aviation enthusiast, the airmail service. So that was another market for the company, the skies. We had been on the ground with automobiles. Prior to that, we had been with kerosene sales. And this was just another opportunity for the company to do its business.
That's great. And I think a lot of our listeners would be interested to learn more about aviation and the other fuels that we've created to power the world, be it maritime or otherwise. So maybe you can tell us more about that in the next episode.
I'd love to have that opportunity.
So thanks for joining us today. That's all the time that we have. Please leave us any questions in the comment section. And as John mentioned, we'll be back in a future episode to talk more about the fuel we create to power the world. Thanks.